Good morning, everybody. This is Heather McGlothlin from the West Jordan Chamber of Commerce. I am joining you guys today with Chris and Shayla VanGarrett.
Hi.
They're awesome, and they own VanGarrett Media, and today we're going to talk to them a little bit about how to navigate dealing with social media during a time like this, and also just going to share a little bit with you guys about how they're helping me navigate through this time. They are helping me with doing these video interviews and with any of our social media posts and things like that. And they've been a huge help to me. And so I just wanted them to share with you guys about what you can be doing too. So thanks for joining me today, you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Heather. Thank you very much.
And I thought we could start by you guys telling me about your business, sharing with us all the cool things you guys do, and then we can just go right into the questions.
Perfect. Sounds good. So first and foremost, we are a woman-owned business. That might surprise some people because I'm rather quiet. Chris has done a lot of the talking and the networking for us while I've gotten a little more comfortable being in the spotlight of those things. So it's been a great way for me to grow and for us to grow our business. So we do pretty much all things digital marketing. We are a full-fledged digital marketing agency. In-house, we take care of all podcasting as far as recording and producing those. We also do videography, also recording, editing, producing, and we do personality marketing in-house as well. Most of our other services we put out to partners that we work with, so graphic design, website building, logo, branding, SEO, which we have amazing deals on SEO if anyone is looking to do that for their business. Lots of other things that I'm blanking on right now. But we
graphic
also
design, right? You said
graphic design. Yep, graphic design, websites, all of that good stuff. Anything that a business would need really as far as digital marketing goes to keep their business going or to build it. We also do social media management in there as well. And that's actually how we got started in this whole thing, is we found a need in social media management for small businesses. We love small businesses. We love working with small businesses. It's something that's really dear to our hearts. And as we grow, that's something that we will always include in our work and the people that we help, because it's such a need for businesses that just don't have the budget to hire these huge agencies to help them out.
And actually, I can attest to that. One of the things that I have been appreciating most about you two is that you're getting to know me and you're appreciating who I am and the goals I have. And so you're trying to help me, express myself through our marketing efforts and through the things we're trying to do for the Chamber of Commerce. And I have appreciated that more than you guys know, because whenever I've worked with other marketing companies, they have their ideas about what works well and what should and what makes sense. And I don't ever feel like who I am is always being communicated, And so that is something that I have genuinely appreciated about you guys, is you guys hear me and you want to help me express myself and achieve my goals. And so my follow-up question with that is that part of the personality marketing? What is that? I've never heard that before. What do you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So what personality marketing is it's teaching people how to talk about themselves, how to be the most authentic version of themselves, because it really doesn't matter if you are, president of a chamber, or you are part of the management team in a tutoring center, or you run an ice cream shop. People are going to come to you because they like you. Mm-hmm. And if you decide to change gears and pivot and do something completely different, people will follow you based on whether or not they connected with you. They can always find someone else to do the other things that you were doing, but they'll always be there to support you if you can market and show who you are as an individual versus only talking about your industry.
That is true, isn't it? This is just a sort of a side note, but I'm having some car trouble right now. And my immediate reaction was to go to Big O Tires because of the relationship I've developed with them. I like those guys. They've always been good to me. And,
Yeah.
I can totally appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important. And one of the biggest things, even when people don't hire us for personality marketing, it's still something that's incorporated when we coach people or consult them on their marketing plan. So it's getting in there anyway. It's important to spend time on and energy on and really educate our clients on so that they can have a more successful marketing plan.
So that's exactly what you've been doing with me then, is personality marketing.
Exactly. Well, a little sneaky, right?
Yeah, right. You snuck in there. And I feel and that's why I'm responding to you guys the way that I am, is because I feel like you guys are trying to help me be me, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So much about personality marketing is just learning what makes a person tick and letting them tick, right? And encouraging them to be as open and as authentic as possible and just tick. And it's interesting when you support somebody with just allowing them to be who they are. Some wonderful things happen. They just blossom, and they end up telling their story much better than a marketer ever could. And so that's just one of the things that we do, is we encourage people to just be themselves. Turns out all those Disney movies were right. The magic is in you all along. So.
Well, so what if we provided some examples of how you guys have been helping me? I mean, I'm your client, right? So how have you been trying to help me keep on ticking?
Yeah, so our biggest thing is encouraging a person to find their voice. I think especially as business owners, we go out into the world and we're listening to all of the experts tell us what is the best way to be. And part of our model is kind of undoing some of that and saying, okay, there might be best practices, but ultimately you know what works best for you. So let's build up your confidence in actually listening to yourself and really understanding where you want to go. So push out everything else. If they're in a world without consequences, what do you want your business to look like? What do you want to put forth into the world? And most business owners are not in it just to make a lot of money. They're in it generally to help people on some level.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. So encouraging that, helping build confidence, being a support system, it really is more of a team mentality rather than us being more parental in our role with someone or a business. And it's very much, okay, let's work on this as a team. Let's work together. Let's collaborate. It's not us just spouting things. Here's what you should do and here's how you should do it. And if you're not going to do it, we're going to cut ties with you.
Yeah. And you specifically, Heather, have been such a fun client to work with. And we work with a lot of clients who don't necessarily fit a mold, right? Because there's this perception especially in the corporate world. I come from corporate America and I have the intellectual PTSD to prove it. But there's this perception in the corporate world that you have to be a certain way, right? You have to be, your hair has to be a certain way. It can't be odd colored. You have to speak in a certain manner. You have to present yourself in a certain way. You have to laugh at the right jokes. You have to respond a certain way in meetings. You have to use phrases like scalability and all that, whatever.
Yeah.
And all that's important and necessary to sustain life, but not everybody fits that mold. And so specifically with you, Heather, you've been so much fun to work with because A, you've been very receptive to feedback, and B, there's a side of you that just doesn't fit necessarily with the typical corporate idea. And it's that side of you. I'm serious when I say this. It's that side of you that I love and respect so much. And it's that side of you that's the best and brightest part of you. Like, you have the ability to walk with anybody. You can, I think it was Rudyard Kipling said, to walk with kings and not lose the common touch. That is very much you. Wow. And gaining a sense of confidence around the common touch is the thing that's been so much fun to work with you on, because you literally can speak to anybody. You can instantly put anybody at ease with both your charm and your professionalism. And so being able to encourage that and being able to really coach you through that and see you blossom into that has really been a rewarding experience.
I promise I didn't pay him to say that.
No.
No.
No, honestly.
You guys are going to make me blush. I appreciate that. And you're so right. The mold thing is very real and it's hard. I would argue that nobody fits it, right? That we're all trying to be, you know, I have like 16 blazers because I'm trying to like look the part and, you know, but still there's like a rebellious part of me that buys like polka dot t-shirts and tries to fit those underneath my blazers and things like that. Actually, I'm wearing cherries on my shirts today.
Nice.
And, you know, I think I've genuinely appreciated the relationship I'm developing with you guys because this is hard for me. Not just like the business part of it and fitting the mold and saying the right things in the meetings and shaking hands and all that stuff, but putting so much of myself out there is very hard for me. I don't, you know, in spite of my position, I'm not a big fan of being in the spotlight. And talking about myself is hard. I have a hard time with that. And so I feel like you guys have been trying to help me, not pushing me, just encouraging and being my little cheerleaders and helping me do this. You know?
Yeah. That's exactly where the personality marketing came in for us, is that we realized that a lot of business owners were really good at talking about their business, but if you started asking them about them and who they are and what their values are, they got really uncomfortable. And I think in a lot of ways, as business owners, we get so caught up in our day-to-day that we start to forget that we are just people doing a thing. And if we can get back to remembering why we're doing it, where it came from, what got us started, I think it just revives the whole energy of our business so we can get back to loving it again rather than feeling like marketing or advertising or anything else is just another thing we have to do. So we can address that. It makes it less of a job.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I had a colleague who's a member of a different networking group who his business, they had to stop accepting clients due to coronavirus and due to the pandemic. And we had a conversation about this, and it was kind of a, you know, existential, what's the meaning of life conversation, because that often happens when you reach a crossroads. And we talked about how this entire experience has kind of chipped away at some of the preconceived notions we build about ourselves in business specifically, and how we're just people now. And if there's any one of several silver linings to look at in this entire process, it's been that. It's that some of the preconceived notions and preconceived normalities around culture and business have really been chipped away, and now we're being reminded that we're all just people. We're all just parents, we're all just spouses or significant others, or we're all just kids, you know, and we're all just here to try to do our best. And I think that's something we may have forgotten over time. So it's nice to be reminded about that.
Yeah, and you know, I think you're totally right. Like all of this has been very humbling, you know. We're doing Zoom meetings, and all of a sudden, instead of being in this professional setting, you guys are seeing my house. You know, you're seeing me in my element, and it's very unnerving. So I guess if you guys had some kind of advice for people who are uncomfortable with, you know, filming themselves and putting it out there in the public, what would that be?
A couple of things. One, when it comes to social media, we absolutely think it's important to, as a business, to be on social media. It's also really important to remember that, especially in times like this where there's a lot of fear and a lot of unknowns, that we recognize that as individuals, not just as a business, but as individuals, we are our business 24/7. So people look to us, and what they see publicly is how they're going to judge our businesses. And that's the case whether there's a pandemic or not, whether we have, you know, tension in politics or not, whether we have any housing issues or not. People are looking to us to be a part of a community. And if, especially now, we're getting to where consumers are wanting to have a similar value set to those people who they're supporting financially. So they want a business and support a business that they know they can feel guilt-free in supporting.
Yeah.
So keep things diplomatic as possible on social media. Get on there, market yourself, talk to people, and do your best to have a service mindset around all of it. And once you've done that, maybe 10, 15 minutes a day, get off. Turn it off, walk away. That's enough. Because as we allow our consumer brains to take in more and more information, the likelihood of us taking in more and more negative information is higher.
Yeah.
And that affects our every mood throughout our entire day, whether it's, helping our kids with school now that they're at home doing school, or we're interacting with our spouse who are around 24/7 now, or we're having other meetings like this over Zoom. That mentality is going to follow us. So we want to be really careful about limiting our exposure to that. Now in that 10, 15 minutes, it's easy to throw on a video, get real with your audience. Everyone's struggling, and it's okay to struggle. It's okay to not be okay. But we get to decide, are we going to live in that mindset space, or are we going to feel it and then try to move forward? How are we going to help others in order to move forward?
So if people wanted to reach out to you and just ask questions, could they do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we love that kind of stuff. We're really geeky about all of this stuff, and we've learned a lot that we love to share. So either of us can be reached over social media. Just send us a message, post on our wall, or they can always reach us on the VanGarrett Media Facebook page.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend that if you're uncomfortable with this type of format at all, just having someone to talk to about it and express why you're uncomfortable, and getting advice and things like that is very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm. And take this entire video series that you're doing right now, Heather, as a good example, right? So before we started doing this, just a little behind the scenes for everybody, we talked to Heather about it, and she expressed that she wanted to do something extra. She wanted to bring more value to the members of the West Jordan Chamber of Commerce and to the community at large. And we suggested pretty quickly, hey, well, we need to start a video series. And she was like, and we said, no, really, this is the best way to do it. And we were like, they tried to pull the kid towards the big roller coaster, and the kid's like, no. But really, I mean, that's how you do it. That's how you get comfortable with it, is you get uncomfortable with it, right? You jump into it and just do it. But in doing so, you want to make sure you're providing value. I've got 2 or 3 mentors that have a lot of money, right? And we don't necessarily have the same resource set to be able to draw from to do what they're doing. I mean, I've got one mentor who's out buying up as many N95 masks as he can and giving them away for free to medical professionals on the front line. I've got another mentor who's working with statisticians at MIT and at Johns Hopkins and University of Utah to really drill down and figure out additional data around coronavirus, and he's donating his time to do this sort of thing. We don't necessarily have the same resource set to draw from to do that, but you can start a video series where you are providing value to your community. Maybe you're a mortgage loan officer, and maybe people are freaked out by what's happening with the Federal Reserve rate, and maybe you're hearing a lot that people think that the mortgage loan rates are tied to the Federal Reserve, when in truth, that's not really the case. You could start a video series educating people why that's not the case and bring value to them, even though they may not necessarily be paying clients. Because if you can bring value, if you can really show that you know your stuff and really bring a lot of what we call freemium information to these folks, they're going to come to you when they do need you. They're going to come to you when they do want to refinance their house, or they do want to buy a house, or they do need marketing, or they do need a build out in their basement, and maybe you're a general contractor, right? If you can provide this kind of value in moments like now, imagine what sort of value you're going to be able to bring when people can actually come and be your paying customer. So twofold. Number one, always provide value in situations like this. And number two, if this sort of thing is uncomfortable for you and getting out and really telling your story, you are precisely the person that needs to get out and really tell your story, because you probably have a very interesting story to tell. So I just wanted to touch on that as good as you asked that question. So
Yeah, I like that. And actually, you're sort of helping me organically go to a place I was hoping to go all along, is why does video matter more than just a regular post or an email? I'm getting inundated with emails from businesses that I have a relationship with.
Mhm.
And so I read them because I have a relationship with the person. But if I didn't, I probably wouldn't read it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We as human beings get so much from body language, tone of voice, vocabulary that's used specifically, that the written word will suffice when necessary. But especially right now where we're really struggling to connect with each other, being able to see a person and watch their face move and listen to their tone and really have a better understanding of what they're trying to portray, what they're trying to communicate, it's huge. And that's the case even when we're able to go out and about. We just respond better when we're able to hear. This is why podcasts are so big also. We're able to hear inflection. We're able to hear what's going on. We can hear emotion. And then when you can get on video and see the body movements in addition to that, it's just adding that much more information for us to process.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. I think part of my discomfort with it is that I feel like I need to be someone that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I feel like I say things that are silly and that I wish I could just edit it, and then I'm wondering if I am, I want to come across as sincere but professional at the same time. And, it's a lot of pressure, I guess, ultimately, and not being able to control the way I'm being perceived, because I can't see the people's reactions to me while they're watching the video it's a lot for me to try and get over. And I will say this, that since we've been doing this, I'm getting increasingly more comfortable, but it's still always going to be something in the back of my mind that this is not something that I would naturally gravitate to. So remind me of some of the advice you've been giving me this whole time for things like that.
Yeah. Number one, first and foremost, people are judging you, right? That's just how we are as humans. People are going to judge you. They're going to think things. What people think of you, generally speaking, is none of your business. They can go ahead and think whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
Thing number two, even the most astute public speakers worry about this sort of thing. I've been around the speaking circuit. I have clients who are speakers. All of them worry, right? They may not necessarily admit it all the time, but they do. And it's become a process for them of simply silencing that worry and silencing the anxiety in lieu of what they need to accomplish, or in lieu of how they pay the bills, right? So even the most well-educated and well-skilled speakers will still worry about what the audience is going to think of them. Or is this joke going to fall flat? Or is this point going to come across? Or are they going to be with me throughout this story, that sort of thing? Am I going to cough and have to take a drink of something in the middle of an anecdote? Those things happen. And the point is not necessarily to prevent them from happening, but to keep talking through the experience. That was perfect. You just illustrated it beautifully. That was great.
That was terrible. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. And we're, we're not going to edit this because again, because that's real, right?
Yeah.
You just mimed the entire point. That was beautiful. That was great.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. It's okay.
That's terrible.
No, all of those things are going to happen. You're going to feel insecure. Something like that's going to happen. A cat could get up and walk across Shayla's screen at any time. We have two of them, and they love to interact.
Shayla's face.
Yeah, and the point is that you don't worry about it. You don't necessarily. You want to come across as professional. You want to be sincere, certainly, right? But don't be so worried about being professional and so worried about being insincere that you come across as insincere, or that you lose the ability to communicate, or that you're worried too much about, oh, my hair or this, that. To hell with it. It's going to come across the way it's going to come across, and just be yourself. In this business, the best advice I have ever found is simply just do it. You're going to screw up and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay, because when you do, and when you can point it out and call it out and go, wow, I screwed, what that does is gives everybody else permission to do the same for themselves. That's where a lot of the power is if you can trip and fall and smile and laugh and go, oh, I'm a klutz. It's in that moment that people identify most with you because of your humanity, that they go, hey, I've done that.
Yeah.
I totally have.
Before.
Yeah, exactly. I totally have 2 left feet. That's fantastic. I've totally been taking a sip of something during a live video and so had to cough my face off. I have so been there. And I want to tell this own, guess what? This person who's got it all together does that as well. Fantastic. That means I have permission to do it.
Right.
And just like you said, Heather, we're all trying to fit into a mold that doesn't exist. And ultimately, one of my favorite things to say to a client who's really having a hard time with video specifically, whether they're worried about the sound of their voice or their hair or whatever, is it's not about you. And that's really hard for some people to hear. And I certainly don't mean it to be offensive. If it's offensive, then I guess that person has a bigger problem on their hands. But, and the problem isn't me, because I'm just being honest. Right. We're not going on video for ourselves. It's not for me. It's not for you. We're doing it to communicate an idea to other people. And that's what it's about. It's about that communication. It's about getting our message out there. It's about being as real and as human as we all just naturally are, and just being okay with it and allowing that to be something that's more acceptable in our professional lives as it is when we're just home with our families.
Yeah. And I meant to ask this earlier. Do you guys have a theory about why we're all so afraid to be sincere?
We've been taught for a long time that that's not what people want to hear, especially when it comes to professionalism.
Yeah.
Corporate America in general is pretty known for a specific stereotype type of person, especially if you're talking about white collar. You have this, well-fit person in a suit and a white shirt and a tie, and nothing sticks out, and they're just a minion, and they just march into the office every day, they do their job, and they march out.
And without flaws, right?
Exactly, right. They don't make mistakes, and they make a lot of money, and that's just the idea that we've been sold. We could get into my whole conspiracy theories about all of that another time, but I think that it just doesn't make sense anymore. It's just not the culture of business owners, and even in a lot of cases, corporate America. Specifically, we're on the west side of the Rockies, especially. If you go East Coast, some of that still exists for sure. That mentality is still there. It's a lot more fast paced. It's just not the case here. We have a younger generation coming up where things like that just don't matter to them as much.
Yeah.
So we're trying to unlearn all of these years of what we've been taught so that we can appeal more to younger generations, because their value set is changing. And
it's an interesting point. I haven't thought about it like that before.
Yeah, it's a very different way of doing things. We talk to people all the time that we're used to they have a business self and they have home self. Mm-hmm. And these are two very different people. And I don't wear different hats anymore. I'm just me. So I show up the same way in a meeting or a networking event as I do when I come to dinner with my family or go to my kids' parent-teacher conference. I am the same person. And that's a relief.
I was just going to say, that sounds liberating.
Yes. As soon as you can allow yourself to let go of the expectations that aren't being put on us necessarily, but we're putting on ourselves, especially as women. There's just a whole new layer of things when it comes to what it means to be a professional woman in this culture. And if we can just let go of those expectations that we're putting on each other and on ourselves, we can be free to actually put out into the world what needs to be happening.
That's so true, isn't it? We're like trying to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did want to know from your guys' opinion if there were influencers in the world right that exist right now that you think are doing that, what they're doing is creating a reaction, and what is it that they're doing that is getting them that kind of success? Do you understand my question?
I've got one in mind. You go ahead, Shayla. I'll
Okay.
say mine.
I was actually just going to ask for clarification, like what you mean by getting a reaction. Like, do you mean by like just popularity, or?
You know, there's tons of people that are posting videos of themselves online. I mean, I from what I can tell, and I guess this could be an inaccurate assessment, they're mostly younger, and they also, from what I can tell, they put like nothing is taboo. It's all out there, and right. And you know, I don't know if it's my upbringing or my culture or what, but I'm taken aback by how honest they are all the time. And so my question is, what is it that you think the ones that are truly successful and are having an impact on their audience and continually getting more followers, what are they doing right? What is it? I mean,
well, I have a couple of opinions about influencers in general. For one, I think I'm hoping that the definition of that word is changing. When, you know, Instagram influencers, social media influencers in general sort of became all the rage, I just couldn't stand it. It represented everything I hated about social media. And I think that's what a lot of people came to know social media as, is all this, what I saw as very fake life influencers. So to see some younger people coming up and be very honest and open about whatever, that is why they're successful, because they're breaking the mold of what previous generations have built. And just in the same way that we have these younger generations they don't have the preconceived notions or the expectations that previous generations have. It's like a microcosm example of just that. And they're getting followers and they're getting attention because we crave truth. And especially in social media, where we just haven't been getting that until the last year or two now. And it excites me to see the tide change, to become more aligned with truth and honesty and just being real about mental health, about abuse, about gender, about sexuality, all of these things that have always been there, but we've just been too afraid to talk about.
Okay.
That's
So
my stance on it.
You're saying that before, the word influencer meant that they were still pretty superficially talking about themselves and the things they're into, and now the word is changing to mean a much more authentic self.
Yeah. That's my hope.
Okay.
I would like to see the word influencer change from being just a fake person who's being paid to advertise products to I'd love the word to change completely from influencer to leader. I want to see more leaders. I want to see more cultural changers. I want to see people who are coming in and disrupting the norms that we've been used to that are just outdated.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example of two that are. So in that, leaping off of what Shayla was talking about, there's a person named Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V is what he's known by. So he's the king of LinkedIn, king of social media practically. And he is foul-mouthed. Yeah, Gary V. He is foul-mouthed and honest and sincere. And as long as you don't mind the F-bombs, I highly recommend you follow this person everywhere that you possibly can. So he puts out content like no one I've ever seen. I mean, he's doing LinkedIn videos all the time and talking about different ways to start a business and who you are and what, just be that as part of your business. And he's talking to people that are 20 years younger than us and 20 years older than us, and saying, no, you've got so much value because you're so young, and this other person's got so much value because they have so much experience. You're 65 years old and you think that you're too old to start a business? Bull. And then it'll go off, right? And and he'll tell this person why they're valuable and beautiful and perfect, and why they need to contribute to the world, because everything they've thought of and everything they've experienced is going to roll into one amazing business. And he's right. And so many people have taken this advice of his and gone and done beautiful things with it. So that's one, Gary Vaynerchuk. The other is Seth Godin. So Seth Godin, Godin. And Seth is an older person. I think he's in his 60s. He wrote a book at the beginning of the century called Purple Cow, or How to Identify a Purple Cow. I don't remember the exact title.
Familiar. I think I've heard somebody else talk about it.
Yeah, it's escaping me at the moment, but that's been kind of my guiding star in marketing, has been that book. And the mentality being that, you can be a brown cow and that's fine. And a brown cow produces milk, and a brown cow is useful, and a brown cow is a brown cow, but it's unremarkable. People driving down the street, they see a brown cow, they're never going to talk about it. But if you're a purple cow, people driving down the street, they see a purple cow, they're going to talk about it. They're going to tell everyone they know, oh my God, I saw a purple cow today. Right? Yeah. So if you want to be identified, you want to be different, you have to be a purple cow, because ultimately what you want people to do is spread with something called the idea virus. People think that ideas come from the top down. It's not true. Ideas may start there, but they're not spread that way. They're spread like a cold, right? That we call it the idea virus. They spread laterally. You go and tell somebody about a great experience at a restaurant you had, or a great experience with a service provider you had, and you'll go and tell somebody, even more people, statistically speaking, about a bad experience that you had, or a negative experience with a service provider. That's also spreading the idea virus in a very different way, right? So, and these are two people that are Seth Godin and Gary Vee are totally breaking the mold of traditional business. Seth talks about how he's been unemployed for 35 years. And he's written books, and he's doing all of the, he's got this program called the Alt MBA. That's a fascinating program that's about 6 weeks worth of an MBA squeezed into that amount of time. And you go from nothing to creating a shippable product a couple of different times in that 6 week period, along with a team of people. And so you are inundated with a skill set in the immediate that you're putting into action right now, in a way that has never been done before. And it's totally taken the entire concept of a long form MBA and turned it entirely on its head. And it's being adopted in small in part in companies like Nike and Google and Microsoft. They're recognizing that this is really important. It's changing the face of education, especially in today's day and age. So those are two people that are really representative of what Shayla talked about, Gary Vaynerchuk and Seth Godin. You want to turn the entire concept of professionalism and what it means to be a business on its head, follow those two. Okay. We do.
And their honesty is what appeals to you guys.
Their honesty and their encouragement for others to be real, authentic, and honest themselves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds awesome. I'm with you, Shayla, on there was a while there when I basically just stopped looking at Facebook because I felt like it wasn't very real.
Right. Right.
And it also made me feel occasionally like I needed to be something that I wasn't, or like I wasn't doing enough, or that I was too much of something, and it was like kind of damaging, actually.
Absolutely. There are studies that show the mental breakdowns that people have over social media. Not only are you able to form an addiction around it, but it actually affects our self-esteem. When we're such social creatures, and in our biology, we want and need to fit in somewhere because it used to mean survival. If we didn't fit in our tribe, then we got kicked out of the tribe, we would die. And that is still very much ingrained in us, in our biology. unfortunately, the things that we have to bring us together right now are not things that always actually are healthy for us. So sometimes it's okay to be kicked out of that tribe. You're not going to die. Times have changed. You're not going to die.
No. Well, I've asked you guys a lot of questions, and I guess my ultimate hope with doing this call with you guys today was that we would encourage people to be themselves and to be more comfortable, or to at least try doing the video marketing. And
Yeah.
I think there's lots of things that you guys do that are awesome that we didn't really talk about. Are there other things that you guys would like to mention?
Well, yeah, and in addition to personality marketing, encouraging people to find the magic in themselves, like Shayla had mentioned at the beginning of this, there's a whole slew of services that we provide. Everything digital marketing we can do for individuals and for businesses. So we can take a full concept of a podcast from concept to ship, and basically just record the entire thing and leave people, leave the hard technical work to us. All you have to do is sit down and talk. We'll do the entire thing. We'll do the same thing with videography. So if you need motion graphics and videos for your business, even now we can still do a lot of that electronically. We're doing that for some of our clients where they're recording training sessions, like business coaches will record training sessions. They hand it over to us. We do a little bit of video mastering, add some effects at the beginning and end, and then put out a product that's available for YouTube or behind a paywall, whatever they want to do. Search engine optimization. So if you have a website but nobody knows where it is or what it is, or you have no clue what the concept of backlinking is, we've got partners that we work with that can get you to the top of the Google rankings. Graphic design. If you have a logo, or if you don't have a logo, we can create one. If you do have one and it sucks, we can make it better. And we can make it fit into a larger branding strategy, and then ultimately messaging and branding itself. So if you've got a concept that you want to take and you really want to message over the long term, and you want to use different social media channels and different other different media channels to tell this story, we can come up with that plan and implement that plan for you. So we can do as soft as a touch as you might want, or as hard of a touch as you want. If you want a turnkey solution and you just want to walk away, we can do that for you. Or if you'd rather tell the story yourself, just like we're doing right now, and be able to be the center of your own story and really tell it in your voice, we can show you how to do that.
Okay. The turnkey operation sounds awesome.
Right?
Yeah, that's
Here, you do it.
Yeah.
We get it a lot, where it's, I don't have the time. I don't just get to know my voice, tell my story. But we're very good at that. So
Yes, you guys are. And that's what I was trying to communicate earlier in this call, is that you guys are have been so good at getting to know me and trying to help me tell my story, and to just kind of help me be better at all these things.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Heather, and we love you. We love what you're doing. We love this community, and we just want to help. So we want to be a force for good in the community, and if we can do that to somebody as knowledgeable and as capable as you are, then I'd say we're probably winning pretty well. So.
Absolutely.
You guys are being too nice. Do you want to tell us again how they can reach you if they want to talk to you?
Yeah, so hit us up on social media. That's the best place to get a hold of us. We're in between websites right now, so our website just kind of backlinks to a calendaring application. So it's still there, VanGarrettMedia.com. You can reach us there, but the best place to reach us really is on Facebook. You can find me if you search for Fantastic Accent on Twitter or on Facebook, you'll find me, or just search for Chris VanGarrett. Search for VanGarrett Media and search for Shayla Dawn. You'll also find her under the moniker Terrible Italian.
You guys are awesome.
So, and hit us up. We post daily. We're always on. We do videos fairly often, and feel free to send us a message. We usually hop on things within about 5 minutes. And if you're old school and you really just want to send an email, CS, that's Charlie Sierra, CS at VanGarrettMedia.com.
Okay, and you guys, should we put that in? Can we put that in the link to this video today?
We'll put it we'll put it in the notes I think it's comments. On this. What is it? State podcast or video cuts left, I think is what it is. I don't remember. I don't know. So we'll figure it out.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you guys for joining me today, and I hope that my message and your guys' message gets across, and that people seek you guys out for advice, and that we help people navigate this stuff a little bit better from now on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We're here.
Thanks,
Thank you as well, Heather.
Thanks.